being in the right place at the right time, like it's only going to happen if you actually show up. You got to get out, you got to be around people, you got to get near where the action's happening. And then you got to hang around and stay in there until you can figure something out, right? Just keep showing up, get close to the action. I am absolutely not the smartest person in the room, and I am absolutely not the most experienced person in the room. And just because I've done something and had a little success with it doesn't mean the person sitting next to me hasn't had 20 times the success with that and knows it inside and out in a way that I don't know. There's this whole concept of like, you can't know what you don't know. There's stuff out there that you don't know, and you don't even know that you don't know it. So you can't conceive of it. If you guys don't know, when you're in a room like Driven Mastermind, there's people in there that have done incredible things that you can't even imagine. And when you start to see it, sometimes you just want to shut up and listen and absorb everything they have to say.
Welcome to the world's greatest minds, where the most successful, impactful, and creative game changers on the planet deliver their hardest hitting advice in 30 minutes or less. Every guest is specifically handpicked. There's no paid placements allowed. And every conversation is completely authentic and entirely unscripted. Big ideas, raw conversations, and real impact. This is World's Greatest Minds, and the revolution of thought starts now. Welcome back to World's Greatest Minds. Today, we're sitting down with a personal friend of mine, Reuben Rock, who's a marketing strategist, speaker, and founder of Search Party Marketing and BookCleaningJobs.com. Reuben has helped generate over 8 figures in annual client revenue across hundreds of industries through Google Ads and YouTube ads, from local service businesses to national franchises and coaching brands. He's also the creator of the Instant Authority Vortex, a framework that teaches experts how to rapidly build credibility and attract high-value clients through paid video campaigns. Reuben's mission is simple but powerful: to help entrepreneurs master paid media, scale smarter, and create freedom-driven businesses that don't rely on constant hustle. Reuben, thank you for coming to the show.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude, you're one of my favorite people to talk to for a lot of reasons. You are in the hardest marketing niche I think that exists. Paid media specifically is already hard because people expect so much. Expectations are so high. There's kind of this pernicious ecosystem where people think you can track in ways that you can't necessarily track. And then you didn't stop there. You also decided to make it even harder on yourself and go paid media local, which I realize isn't all you do. But the fact that you've been able to do that at an extraordinary high level, maybe better than anybody I know personally. God, dude, that's a tough lift. Like, and I'd love the listener to kind of get a sense as to your story, how you landed there, et cetera. But I just want to say out loud, the podcast is called World's Greatest Minds. I don't know anybody better than you at this particular niche. And I know everybody in the PPC space. You know, I've been doing it for 15 years. And for whatever it's worth, like, I think people assume high spends in big businesses mean a lot of pedigree. Low spends are harder. Small spends are harder. Local, you can't hide behind the money. So
it's true.
I'd love for you to maybe just tell the story, like how you ended up in the hardest marketing niche in the world.
Yeah, it's true. It is, I think, incredibly difficult. And it's funny that, I didn't really think about it until you pointed it out to me recently. But I started out running ads for bigger companies. I worked with a lot of bigger companies, and I also worked with a ton of local companies, and I saw the difference. I knew the local companies were harder to work with. And I still somehow ended up niching down into local, taking on the hardest challenge that I could find, and just building my company around that. Maybe because other people wouldn't do it. I think because these smaller businesses, smaller budget accounts, they're often underserved. Agencies won't touch them. Agencies won't touch these accounts for a lot of reasons. Some of them exactly what you just said, because they're difficult to manage. It's hard to get results with a small budget. And there's really no hiding. If you're not driving the results, that small business owner knows it, and they've got their finger on the button ready to fire you immediately. So it's a little difficult. I got into it, I think, because I got good at it. One of the ways I got good at it was just happened in my entrepreneurial journey. I kind of dropped out of corporate around age 29, 30, something like that. I bought a carpet cleaning franchise. I left the digital marketing world, had worked for Fortune 500s, and just bought a carpet cleaning franchise in 2015, which back then seemed like kind of a weird thing to do. It wasn't as hyped and glorious as it is now. If you read X and all these other places where people are starting home service companies now, it's very popular. Back then, I felt like I was going into no man's land buying this carpet cleaning company, but Google Ads ended up being one of the tools that helped me be really successful with that company. I figured it out for myself. The franchisees that were in my network started asking me to run their ads. I had a few dozen franchisees. I was running their ads for them while I was a franchise owner myself. So I got like a little taste of running a local agency while I was running my carpet cleaning franchise. And so by the time I sold the carpet cleaning franchise, I had enough local experience and enough confidence with it that I was able to help other people. And I kind of figured out this I guess this is my wheelhouse. I
Yeah.
know how to work these small accounts, and I know how to talk with the small business owners. I understand their experience, and I can help them through it, help keep them from, quitting too early, from quitting, from dying on the, finish line, that kind of stuff. Like sometimes they get so close to getting the results and they just need a push in the right direction to get them to the result they're after. And I think I'm pretty good at doing that. And my team is really good at doing it now.
It's the best example I've heard of in a long time of my favorite entrepreneurial framework, which is the corridor principle. The corridor principle says you'll never identify the real opportunity until you're on the field of battle. You have to be in the corridor. And the problem is you never identify it in a linear way, right? It's this broken road. So you had to start a carpet cleaning or buy a carpet cleaning franchise to figure out that you're good at Google Ads.
Totally.
But if you had just stayed in on the bleachers, like you couldn't have had the reps to figure that out. So I love that story so much. I love that you have a heart for small and local business, because that really is the worthiest client. That's where we can go to make the biggest impact. And God, do they scare easy, dude. Stopping 3 feet from gold. I've seen that a lot. I've seen people turn ad campaigns off that were working just because they started to spend more money than they're comfortable with. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just, it's a different mentality.
It is. It's very, very different from working with big companies where they may budget for their campaign well in advance. They might plan to work with an agency for a year, and they don't plan to make any changes for another year. They don't even want to consider talking to another agency, another proposal until, this year is up. With small businesses, they make decisions on a dime. So they might decide to hire you on a Tuesday, decide to fire you on a Friday. It can happen that fast, especially when they start spending money, like you said, they see it coming out of their bank account and they don't see the immediate deposits to match. It gets scary fast for people who haven't managed that kind of a cash flow situation, right?
Yeah, the small business conundrum, dude. It's just one of those things it's such a fun microcosm to be in, because the impact that you can make is really significant, but it's such a difficult client. You're doing something that I've not seen anybody do, but I've talked about for a long time. You have a model now, and stop me if it's not a model, but that's how I'm interpreting it, where you help people take their ad management in-house.
I
How many
do.
times have you done this so far? Do you mind me
So I
asking?
don't typically do this for small businesses. For the small businesses, we still offer it as a managed service. We'll run your ads for you. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I've worked with small business owners for long enough that I kind of understand the value that we offer, and we're able to offer our services at a price point that fits well for their needs and get them the results that they're after and scale up with them.
Yeah, and they couldn't afford to bring it in-house, but there's kind of that growth pattern, right, where they outgrow
Yeah.
you. Do you experience that?
Absolutely. Yeah. As companies get bigger, they're going to have different experiences with marketing agencies. I've worked at big marketing agencies. I've hired the biggest marketing agencies when I was working at Fortune 500 companies in their marketing department. So I've been around the agency game for, I don't know, 15 years. And as your company grows, you're going to work with different types of agencies, and the experiences you have, it's going to vary. At some point in your company's growth, you might feel like it's time to bring PPC in-house. Like you could hire and manage a team that could run your ads on Google, YouTube, Meta, wherever else in-house, that you don't need to have an agency anymore. And if your company's at that size, sometimes it's a good idea. Good example, I worked with a franchise recently that hired me to help them bring their PPC in-house. And they're at the size of company where it just makes a lot of sense for them to do that. The agencies they're working with are starting to fail them. The typical issues you experience working with paid media agencies, just
Right.
unable to deliver the results, a kind of lack of accountability, that kind of stuff. And that's typical in the agency game. If you're experiencing that and you have a business that's big enough to where you feel like I could hire people, bring this in-house and manage my own team, you can absolutely do that. And I help people do that now.
Dude, so this is what I love about you, Reuben. It's such a contrarian message. I don't know another agency owner on the planet that would dare utter these words. At Solutions 8, when I was running ads for people, I lost more clients to success than to anything else, because they would outgrow us, they'd bring it in-house, and I didn't have an answer for that. And what you've done, I've since talked to some employees about literally starting an agency where this is all we do. But the fact that you're doing it, first of all, pisses me off, because I'm like, damn it, Reuben beat me to the punch. But second of all, I mean, talk about authentic. Like that's the make lemonade out of lemons thing that I've seen you do on a pretty consistent basis. How did you crack this code? Did you stumble into it, or do you just see the writing on the wall?
I think I have a different perspective on the paid media industry, on the agency world, than a lot of people, just having been on all sides of it. I've worked at big companies in the marketing department. I've run my own companies. I've run agencies. I've worked at big agencies. I've hired agencies. I've been everywhere in this industry. And I understand the dynamics between the company, between the business owner, the entrepreneur, and the agencies. And I understand that those relationships change over time. I have enough experience to kind of understand how that relationship changes and how your needs as a business owner, they change. So the franchise I was talking about, one of the reasons they want to bring PPC in-house, it's not just to save on agency fees. It's not just a cost-cutting measure. It's not just to get control, to gain more control. At the end of the day, if they're able to drive better results to increase the performance on those ads for their franchisees, they're going to increase the value of their franchise organization. And if that franchise goes to exit someday, if they go to sell out to somebody else, I mean, that could add a ton of money to their exit value just because they have higher performing franchises that are staying in the organization for longer, have higher satisfaction rates, making a lot more money with their franchise locations. I mean, it paints a better picture of the franchise organization overall. Whereas I've seen other instances where franchises will have hundreds of locations and they hand all of the marketing for those locations over to an agency that underserves them. The ads underperform, the SEO underperforms, the franchises don't get the results they're after. They're complaining to corporate about it and corporate is not taking action. It's two corporates, it's going to contribute to their own demise. Yeah. Because the value of their organization will decrease if they start losing franchises, if their franchisees are unhappy, if they're not making money with those locations. So I see this as a way to take care of everybody who's involved here. It's not about taking business away from agencies. I know it's a little weird to be an agency guy who's helping people bring PPC in-house, but I see it as a way to help all of the people who are involved in this on the other side of the table.
So just to go back to the first thing I said is it's another good example of the quarter principle. You can't get romantic about how you make your money. You see this amazing opportunity on the horizon. It used to be that ad management was the hardest part of the job. Now I think the hardest part of the job is actually something like industry expertise, right? The ad management it's not easy by any means, but it's getting easier. It's getting more accessible. But understanding the industry, the market, the competitors, like all of those things is, I think, becoming more and more important for the practitioner. And so, for one of the first times, it's actually maybe better for an organization that can afford the infrastructure to have it in-house because the ad management expertise can be taught and learned. But the industry expertise, that's what you really want somebody and an agency or a freelancer or a contractor who has 30 clients and is spreading their expertise across those 30 clients is always going to be fractional. Would you agree with what I just said or would you challenge it?
So when I worked at agencies in the past, one of the hardest parts of the job is kind of re-lensing from client to client to client to client throughout the day. One minute you're thinking about a plumber, the next minute you're thinking about a lawyer, the next minute you're thinking about a SaaS company, the next minute you're thinking about an e-commerce company. And these could be 30-minute meetings back to back to back. It's very hard to be effective strategist to all of those companies in such rapid fire succession, but that's agency life. That is typical life working at an agency. And it could drive you crazy. It drove me a little crazy. It's why one of the reasons I decided to niche down. I had experience in the industry with cleaners. I knew about the carpet cleaning business from having worked with a bunch of them, owned my own. And I thought that niching down and providing that industry experience would be really helpful. It was, running a niche focused industry agency, it does make things a little easier because you can focus on solving the same problems over and over and over for just different people who are in that situation. A carpet cleaner in Toledo has the same issues a lot of times as a carpet cleaner in, Huntington Beach. So you can become the expert of that domain and provide a lot of value to people, and you can do it one to many, which is great. But it's really, really hard to do that same thing for 50 different businesses. It's just really, really difficult to do it.
Right. Yeah. And especially as those businesses are changing, some businesses are a little more static than others. Yeah. I worked with a stonemason. I don't think stonemasonry's changed for about 500 years, But then you look at some things like I'm trying to be an expert in the septic space. It's shocking how much evolution takes place into a space like that you think is, there's new legislation, new equipment. Yeah, I love that you just said that, dude. This is one of the things I love most about you. And for those listening, Reuben and I are friends. I've got to hang out with you. I got to hang out with your wife, who's freaking brilliant, dude. I thought you were the smart one. I just met you. I didn't know her. And I saw, God, Reuben's brilliant. And then I met her and I'm like, oh, I see. I see where the power is. And she's traveled more than anybody I think I know personally. Yeah. She's gone on these crazy sort of soul searching sojourns. She worked in corporate America to super high level. So to have you guys as a real power couple. The
she's
way
amazing.
That you work together. And she runs your business, doesn't she? She
completely runs my business. That is the big dirty secret. And that's why when people meet us, at first they're like, oh, it's Reuben. And then they realize slowly, no, it's Kelly. It's
Yeah,
really Kelly. We have kind of a visionary integrator type relationship. Most people don't marry their integrator. I just happened to do it.
but it's
I didn't
pretty
realize
smart
that.
'cause I hear they're
Yeah, I didn't
expensive.
realize that was happening, by the way. I stumbled into it. We've run 3 different businesses together, 4 different businesses together now.
Wait, what
And
are the 4? So you have the ad business. Did you run the
yep.
carpet business together?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started out in real estate together. The
Oh,
first
wow.
thing we did when we started dating, she asked me what I wanted to be doing with my life and my career. And I said, I really would like to invest in real estate. And she said, well, do you have any money? Which was a subtle way of finding out if I had any money in the bank when we
Yeah,
were first starting to date.
yeah.
I didn't catch on to that till way later. And I said, yeah, no, I have some cash. And she was like, well, why don't you buy some real estate? So over the next 6 months, we bought 3 houses and rehabbed them together. One of them was like full of black mold. We had to totally gut it. It was wild. And she jumped in with me and just started rehabbing and renting out houses like it was nothing. First time we ever worked together. So that was one.
And
We
you
started
weren't
the carpet
married
cleaning.
yet.
No, we weren't married. We just started dating.
Dude, that's
A little
so
crazy.
cool. Yeah, it kind of is, right? It's like not
Yeah.
the traditional approach, but then what a beautiful foundation for the relationship. So started with real estate.
Yep.
When
Then
did you
carpet cleaning.
were you married by the time you bought the carpet cleaning franchise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we got married while we owned the carpet cleaning
All right.
franchise. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Typical
So at some
entrepreneur
point you realize
story.
like golden handcuffs or
Oh, yeah.
marriage, one or the other, it has to.
Yeah. So we got married. We ran the carpet cleaning business for a while, sold that. We run bookcleaningjobs.com together. So she's actually the ops manager at Book Cleaning Jobs. She manages most of our team. If it's related to like delivering anything for our clients, websites, social media, anything like that, she manages the entire team that does all of that.
And how big is the team now?
We have a team of 10 and we're
Okay. Dude,
growing.
that's
We've got another 6 scoped out to hire right here. So I think we're going to probably be 20 in the next 6 months or so.
no shit. That's a
Yeah.
nice size. I mean, especially given what you do from an agency perspective, because I know that model so well. Like you're and you run lean too, is my understanding.
We do. Yeah. We're super lean, nice and profitable, which I like because it gives us flexibility. But
Yeah.
we love hiring people. We actually probably have more people on the team than we really need, but I like it that way
Have you
because
read
I
my book?
know I have. Yeah. You guys should read it. Get Kasim's book immediately.
Sneak that one in there for you.
I love hiring a team. I think it gives you extra superpowers, and I'm building the team that I know I'm going to need for the next phase of what we're doing here. So our team is incredible. Kelly's leading that team. She's been a key part of that.
So that's
And then
business
her
number
and
3,
I,
book.
yeah.
And then
And then
you
her
have
and I
what?
launched a telehealth company earlier this year, and she's helping me with that business as well.
Well, tell me about the telehealth. I didn't know about this.
Yeah, this one's been kind of under wraps, and I don't know if I even want to say the name of it here on this podcast because we're still launching right now.
Okay. So
But
this is a coming soon
this is a coming soon. Yeah.
from the entrepreneurial mind of Reuben Rock. Dude, I want to zoom out if you don't mind, because a few things strike me interesting about you. The first one is you're extraordinarily quiet for how smart you are. Like, and it's not a compliment, dude. It's an accusation. Reuben's on the faculty at Driven Mastermind. He's always one of the smartest guys in the room, but you sure don't like piping up. Like, we've got to pull it out of you. And there's myself included. There are people that are 2 standard deviations dumber than you. They just can't shut our mouths. But like, you're not gonna insert yourself unless somebody really sort of coaxes you into it. And I'm curious where that comes from. Like, why the reticence? Why wait
Yeah.
in the wings?
I don't like anybody to see me as talking out of place, being an expert without results, offering my opinion where maybe I don't understand somebody else's experience. So one of the things that I've struggled, I'll be a little vulnerable here for a minute. When I first got into Driven Mastermind, I was so impressed with all of the people, and I'm still very impressed with all the people that are in Driven Mastermind. But one of the experiences that I had very early and kind of often was finding out I am absolutely not the smartest person in the room, and I am absolutely not the most experienced person in the room. And just because I've done something and had a little success with it doesn't mean the person sitting next to me hasn't had 20 times the success with that and knows it inside and out in a way that I don't know. There's this whole concept of like, you can't know what you don't know. Like there's stuff out there that you don't know, and you don't even know that you don't know it. So you can't conceive of it. And so I found myself in a couple of conversations where I spoke up thinking I had a lot of expertise to offer. And I immediately felt like, oh no, maybe I didn't have as much expertise as I thought. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes now I spend time listening. And then when I feel like I have expertise to offer, you'll see me having a lot of hallway conversations. You'll see me sitting with people and talking at lunch or just outside of the event. I'll kind of do those one-on-one because I hate doing it in front of people and then finding out that I'm actually the dumbass who shouldn't be speaking, and someone else in the room absolutely should be holding the mic instead. It's just, it's honestly a little bit of a lack of confidence. I know I have value to offer, but that room, if you guys don't know, when you're in a room like Driven Mastermind, there's people in there that have done incredible things that you can't even imagine. And when you start to see it, sometimes you just want to shut up and listen and
Mm.
absorb everything they have to say.
Well, I think that's beautifully stated, and I've had that experience too, to where I just get, Tim Bratton's one, dude. Every time that guy opens his mouth, I'm like, "Oh my god." Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
same.
know people like you exist intellectually, but I didn't realize that you'd be here in the wild. And for whatever it's worth, I really do think that you have earned a position of authority, however it is that you choose to plant that flag.
Thank you.
So, just saying that out loud in a public forum that's recorded, you now have this. I'd like to ask you a little bit about your professional diversity. For those that don't know, Reuben started was your first job working with Perry, or it was just early?
That was one of my first jobs. It was, I would say, it was my first office job. I
Dude,
had worked
trial
at
by
like retail.
fire. First job working for Perry Belcher, like the
Yeah.
godfather of marketing, literally invented the term digital marketer, started the largest marketing conference in North America, and is absolutely batshit insane. Like,
Insane.
insane. Yeah, and so talk to me a little bit about that experience. Was he like he is now? Was he worse? Was he better? Like, tell me the story. Give me the dirt and the skinny.
In a way, worse. When I started working for Perry, I was 18, 19 years old. I just happened to meet him and he asked me to come set up some microphones in his like little voiceover booth. He wanted to record some info products. So I set up the microphones and I was supposed to leave for the day, but I was just like, well, this is kind of cool. I think I'll hang out. And I just hung out in his office for the day. And I found out they were doing like marketing or something. And I thought that was interesting. So the next day I just came back as if
No
I
way.
still worked there. I just walked back in the front door. It's just like, hey, what do you guys need today? Do you need help with the audio stuff again, or what do you need? And I just hung around. But what I
How old are you
learned,
at this point? You said 17
yeah,
years old.
I was a freshman in college.
Yeah, dude,
So I
that's
was like 18
tenacious
years
for a
old, 19.
17-year-old to do. Like, that's like no bullshit, to just walk back in uninvited effectively. You
It
got
was my
some.
Christmas break. I was actually home from college on Christmas break when this happened, and I had nothing else to do. So just walking back into Perry's office the next day, I literally I don't remember. It's like I blacked out and just showed up there the next day at work. So
Yeah, Perry has that effect on people.
yeah, I was just instantly attracted to it. But I kept
Yeah.
coming back all week long. They kept inviting me back and they were showing me more stuff. And at the end of that week, I remember Perry had a whiteboard and he had all the people in the office area. There were like 4 or 5 people come sit down on beanbag chairs. And he started writing on the whiteboard and he said, "Reuben, come sit down. Come listen to this." And he started teaching us how to write headlines. And I didn't know what copywriting was. I really didn't have any grasp of what marketing was. I was going to school for audio. I was going to run a recording studio someday and I was playing in a band and I thought that was going to be my whole life. But then this dude just introduced me to writing headlines and copywriting and marketing, and he showed us sales letters. And that next week I went back to school and I pretty much dropped out of audio school right away. And I
Mm,
moved back to Tennessee to go get close to Perry and to work for him as long as I could. I ended up staying there for 3.5 years. When I say Perry's insane, Perry owned every business you could imagine when I worked there. And it just kept snowballing. There
yeah.
were more and more and more and more companies, and everybody was involved with everything. So through the course of working there for 3 years, I ran a recording studio for him. He ended up building a professional recording studio, and I recorded dozens and dozens of bands in Memphis. He ended up building a professional video studio. I ended up running that video studio for him, recording interviews, making info products. He recorded a bunch of info products teaching people about businesses, and I had to edit those and listen to it. And I ended up getting a business education through the course of doing that. He was spinning up, supplement companies, equipment companies, importing stuff from China. He was holding like mastermind meetups. It was wild. It was, I'd never seen anything like it. And as a young man, I was like instantly hooked. I knew I had to be involved with that in some way. I changed my entire like plans for life. I went back to school for psychology. I didn't go for marketing. I don't know why. I should have went to marketing school, but psychology interested me more, and that ended up working out. So I was going to school for psychology and working for Perry Belcher for like 3.5 years, watching him start businesses. You can imagine what happened next. I had to start my own. Like
Hmm.
probably within the first year of working for Perry, I started my first e-commerce site and was making money with a PayPal button on a sales page, at age 20. And by age 21, I was making enough money. I bought a house by the University of Memphis campus. And It was awesome, man. Working
Yeah,
for
dude,
Perry was
talk
a life-changing experience.
oh, it's an entrepreneurial masterclass. I feel that way
Yeah.
now. I'm 40 years old, and I just can't, I can't get enough of the guy. And sometimes I forget, I'm sorry to say, like, sometimes he and I'll just be talking, and I just think I'm talking to my buddy, and then he'll say something that reminds me like, "Oh, no, I'm on the phone with a literal genius."
Yeah, genius.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The way he connects things, the way he sees what's coming next, the way he strings together a new opportunity like that where everybody else is just like, I don't know what my next business idea is. I don't know if I have any business ideas. Perry has every business idea, and he has the ability to put them into action very, very quickly. There's a lot to learn just from being around people like that, and that's why I've wanted to stay close, and I enjoy, being around people like him and you and everyone in Driven, because you just get into that world, that vortex. Your friend group kind of elevates, and you're the average of the five closest the people you
Mhm.
spend the most time with, right? You should think about who those people are and make sure
Yeah,
you're spending
really.
time with the right people.
So, this kind of starts to coalesce, I think, in a way that makes a lot of sense. You've conquered a couple of different industries. Like, franchising is not easy, and I've seen it from the outside, and I've seen it from the inside, and it's actually, I think, in so many ways, it's more difficult than a startup because there's so many rules. So, that to be successful in there is hard. To be successful in e-com is hard. To be successful in real estate is hard. To be successful in agency is hard. But to be successful in all of them, dude, like, you're clearly demonstrably a great entrepreneur. I'm
Thank you.
curious, if you just look back and try to help me find the common thread for our listener, like, how is it you're able to you just keep doing it, dude? Like, where does that come from? What is that?
I actually have to credit Perry a bit for this, just because if I had met one, if I had met an entrepreneur who owned one business, and that was my model for entrepreneurship as a young man, it might have changed how I approached entrepreneurship. But I
Mhm.
didn't meet somebody like that. I met Perry, and he had dozens of companies in every
Nut,
industry.
dude.
And I remember riding around in his car with him. He would take me
Was he
from
driving a
office.
Cadillac? What was he in? It was something obnoxious, wasn't it?
He had every car back then. I'm not
Yeah.
kidding. He had every Mercedes, like
Yeah.
lined
Remember
up in
him
front of
shooting
the
those
office.
videos in his Rolls Royce, and his head was always cocked enough for you to see the RR behind him? I always thought that was
Yep.
so funny.
I worked for him when he had the Ferrari.
Yeah.
So he had all the cars, but he would drive around, and every once in a while you'd ride with him to do errands, and errands would be like, you're going to run to this office, then this office, and then this store, and then you're going to go back to this office, and you'd see his whole empire basically, and you knew everybody because you worked there. So it was great. Like, it was kind of like checking in on the empire. And
Mhm.
that was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. At age 19, I'm looking at that and going, this guy has it all. He doesn't
Yeah.
have one business. He has all the businesses. He's up here where everyone else is down here, right? And he's looking down on this whole empire he's built. And that's just the coolest thing I've ever seen. It makes
Can I ask
him
you a question about that,
great.
though? If you don't, I'm gonna turn the tables, and I'm gonna start shitting on a person that we both have decided is an important mentor of ours. I've
Yeah.
always thought, I've actually said out loud, Perry Belcher would be a billionaire with a B multiple times
Mhm.
over if the dude could focus. Do you
Yeah.
think that his greatest prowess is also his, you know what I mean? Like, there's something about that distribution of that energy of his that if somebody forced him at the tip of a spear to bottle it, like, he'd be Elon Musk. I mean, he really is that smart.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's like entrepreneurial ADHD. Some of us are just that way. We can't
Yeah.
stop ourselves from rolling out every new idea and just seeing if it works. And some of us are so good at rolling out ideas and making them work that it's like every couple of weeks you have a new business.
Yeah, but I think it
I
would
don't know.
kill
Maybe
him
it is
too.
to
He
his
has so
detriment.
much fun starting new things. I think if you actually literally put it in front of him, it's like, "Hey, you could have $1 billion, but you can only have to do one thing for the rest of your life, or you'd be where you are now." I think he'd be where he is now.
It's the hunt.
Yeah,
It's not the kill. So I was actually
yeah,
discussing this with
dude, that's
him the
brilliant.
other
It's
day.
the hunt, it's not the kill. God, that's
Yeah.
beautifully stated. Yes.
We were talking about when dopamine fires for entrepreneurs and for, what we call hunters versus farmers, right? And he was telling me that for a hunter, the dopamine fires in anticipation of the hunt and the kill, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's firing while you're hunting. It's firing while you're about to hit your goal, right? But once you get it, it's gone.
Right.
You have this big
Actually kind of
letdown.
depressing.
Right. And he says
Yeah.
most people like who have more of a farmer brain, when they get the reward, the goal they're after, that's when they get flooded with dopamine. But for us, we get flooded with it during the hunt. which is interesting. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why we continue to go back.
Well, that's so I'm just to bring it back because 'cause I'm the one that took you off base. Finding this common thread, you've been successful in all these different industries, which are really diverse, dude. Real estate's so different than carpet cleaning, so different than agency, so different than telemed, which I have no doubt you're gonna be successful in. Like, how do you do that? How do you codify it?
There's a point at which you'll start enough companies that you'll realize there's only one or two business models.
It's all the
Like
same
there's only a
thing.
couple
Yeah.
business models. It's the same thing over and over. My best example of this is I tell people a lot of times, most businesses are just lead generation. It's just a lead generation business. If you look at most local service companies, if you look at a ton of different businesses, it's just generating leads, following up with them, closing them, and then developing some lifetime value, right? And it's the same game over and over. It doesn't matter if you're in the carpet cleaning business or if you're in some other business. It's kind of the same thing over and over. It's the same in the agency business. We're generating leads. We're closing the leads. We're developing lifetime value with our clients. It's the same business model over and over. And it's so transportable that sometimes it's just hard not to go start another business. And then because you've used the model before, as long as you follow that same model and just recognize that this is the same thing I dealt with in my last business. Kelly and I joke about this a lot. In the agency business, sometimes we'll be talking to ourselves about a problem in our marketing agency and we'll go, hold on, this is just like when we dealt with the same problem at our carpet
Solve
cleaning
this
franchise.
problem again for myself. Yeah.
And we'll be like, we already solved it. So how do we solve it at that business? That's how we solve it at this business too.
It's funny. So the definition of agency has always struck me as really interesting because it's not really a business as much as it is a proxy. And I just Googled it. The definition, action or intervention, especially such as to produce a particular effect. So somebody is hiring you to assume agency on their behalf. That's all it is.
Hmm.
And because I'm my whole background is in the agency business, I've always thought that that was really interesting. It's not like anything else, like e-commerce, SaaS, or even professional services, because they tend to be so specific. For those businesses, you're hiring an end result. For agency, you're hiring an intermediary almost on purpose. So there's something about the agency model and the agency business that allows you to really see the inner workings of business more than other businesses. So I think you're zooming out. It doesn't surprise me at all that you've been so successful in the agency space because you kind of see the bones. It's like, oh, I see how this works. It really is. It's like sell some shit, fulfill on some shit, and pay your taxes. And that's
Yeah.
about what business is. But when you're other businesses make it feel and seem more complex. And then when you're in the agency space, you're like, oh no, that's about all that there is to it.
Yeah. Especially if you're inquisitive with your clients, if you ask them what's going on, like, hey, I sent you these leads. What happens next? How do you guys follow up? Tell me about your business. What do you offer them? What happens when they buy? What happens later? Do they buy again? If you ask questions like that of every client you work with, you'll realize it's kind of the same game over and over and over. And if you can develop some expertise after the lead comes in, by the way, like that is a huge value add. If you're an agency who's providing agency services and your job is done the second the lead hits their inbox, man, you're getting left behind right now because
I don't think you have a job anymore, to be honest with you. I think it's over. Yeah.
There's folks like us out there that are going to help our clients all the way through to closing the leads. I'm not going to hop on the phone and close the leads for them necessarily, but we will give them the system.
I'm talking about starting a freaking call center right now.
Let's do it, man.
Why wouldn't we do that?
Yeah. That's the only thing I don't do right now, but we coach them all the way to success, all the way through repeat customer, right? We don't just bring them the lead. We want them to develop a repeat customer out of this. And we want to hear about, your business growth. Are you hiring? What's going on with you personally? Are you assuming a management role now? How are you using your time? Like we provide a lot of that on the back end. I think that's helped us with the agency space. But yeah, when you ask questions about stuff like that, you get a world-class education in other people's businesses. And that's just going to develop you as an entrepreneur. I think being an agency owner, it'd be hard to not want to jump into owning one of these businesses. I used to own a carpet cleaning business. I got out of it. Now I work with a ton of cleaning companies. And every day I think about why do I not own 50 cleaning businesses all over the US right now? Why am I not doing this? It's just so tempting.
Yeah, that'll be another conversation you and I have because I tried to start an incubator where I did exactly that. It's failed miserably, and I've learned so much. I think I know how to make it succeed. So I'll come knocking on your door, Reuben Rock. Last words to you, dude. What am I not asking you that I should have asked you? What's something you'd want to leave our listeners with as we close out?
Just show up. Show up. Maybe when you feel like you're not sure if you should show up. I tell people that story about walking back into Perry Belcher's office the next day uninvited. And when I was young, I didn't think anything of that. I just showed up places. I don't know if I was invited or not. I didn't know if people wanted me there. I just showed up. And I tell people that story and now they tell me like, oh, it's so cringe. Why would you do that? Like, I could never do that.
Oh,
I
I don't
didn't
think
even
it's
think
cringe. I
about
think
it.
it's so bold.
I didn't even think about it. It's
Yeah.
like my brain was just shut off. But being in the right place at the right time, like it's only going to happen if you actually show up. You got to get out. You got to be around people. You got to get near where the action's happening. And then you got to hang around and stay in there until you can figure something out, right? Just keep showing up. Get close to the action. Someone a long time ago when I was starting my corporate career, they told me that the more money, you'll make more money, you'll get a higher salary, the closer you get to the money that the company is transacting. Like wherever the transaction's happening, the closer you get to that part of the business, the higher your salary is going to be. So like you just want to get close to the action and hang around there and figure out what's going on, how you can add value. If you just do that constantly, then you're going to grow as an entrepreneur.
That's beautifully stated, dude. Where can people find you if they want to follow you, hang out with you, hire you? Where do they go?
Sure. I've got a YouTube channel. I post all kinds of random stuff on there. It's not just business. So if you want to get to know me a little bit behind the scenes, you can check out my YouTube channel. I've also got a website, ReubenRock.com. I do 1-hour consults. So if you need help with Google Ads, whether you're an agency owner, a business owner, you run ads for other people, whatever, I do consults there. So if you want to check that out, go to ReubenRock.com. You can book time with me.
Reuben, thanks for being here, man. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Reuben Rock has proven that paid media isn't just about traffic, it's about transformation. Through strategy, systems, and leadership, he's helping entrepreneurs reclaim their time, scale their impact, and build businesses that thrive without burnout. If you've ever wondered how to turn your marketing into a machine for credibility and freedom, this conversation with Reuben Rock will show you exactly how it's done. This has been World's Greatest Minds, and we'll see you in the next episode. You've just heard another powerful episode on World's Greatest Minds. For links, resources, and full show notes from this episode, go to worldsgreatestminds.com, where you can also subscribe so you never miss another episode. Drop us a review because your feedback fuels the mission, and share this with somebody who's willing to buck the status quo. Most importantly, tell us who you think we should interview next. Nominate the people who you believe have the results, the track record, and the brilliance to truly qualify as one of the world's greatest minds. Join us weekly as we forge innovation in real time. This is World's Greatest Mind. The revolution of thought continues with you.